It's nice. It's a sizable box. Has really great artwork.
It's the size of a box.
Yeah, I know. That's okay.
I'll let it go. Let it ride.
Hey, everybody. I'm Tom Vessel.
And I'm Chris Yee.
Mistborn, one of the greatest book series ever written by Brandon Sanderson, whose name is bigger than, I think, maybe John D. Clair's on the box. It shows Brandon Sanderson, and on the front it shows John D. Clair, the designer.
Yeah.
This is
Should be bigger.
He's clearly the biggest fantasy author in the world at this moment in time, and Mistborn is one of his most popular series, and now it is a deck building game. But is the game good? Let's find out.
Here's an example 3-player setup of Mistborn, the deck building game. This is my player area down here, 2 other players on this side. There's a couple of things. This is the market of cards that we'll be buying from. These are the missions that we're going to try to complete, because there's 3 ways to win the game. The first of which is through combat, by being the last player still in the game, or you can complete these 3 missions. If you're the first person to get your cube all the way to the top of all 3 of the mission tracks, you'll be getting these bonuses along the way, but if you get up to the top of all 3, you will win. And the last way to win the game is that there is one card that will come out in the market called the Confrontation, which costs a lot of the currency and also costs a lot of the rarest material in the game. And if you spend 4 of that adium to activate this card, you immediately win, which is not an easy thing to do. That's the general idea of the competitive version. There's also a co-op mode that I won't go into detail, but you would collectively fight against the Lord Ruler here, who has an event deck of 36 cards that'll either at the end of every turn reveal something bad to happen to you, or reveal an enemy that you can choose to fight. And if you take out the Lord Ruler within 36 turns, or 36 event cards, you'll win the game. But I'm going to teach the competitive mode here, and then you'll see, because it's all the same stuff of how the game flow actually works. As in many deck building games, you'll start with a deck of 10 cards. You're going to draw 5 of them. These are the most basic versions of cards. You'll spend this funding, this money here, to buy better cards. Cards that you purchase go into your discard pile, along with all of the cards that you have played or have not played this turn will all get discarded. When you draw back up more cards, if you run out of cards to draw from in your deck, you'll shuffle up your discard pile, draw up 5 cards into a stronger hand now that you have bought additional cards into it. So let's talk about how the general flow of this game works. The first thing that you'll do on your turn is you'll increase your training track. Then you'll play out all the cards and actions that you want to do. You will do attack damage, and then you'll clean up at the end of your turn. Playing cards is simple. If they don't show a cost, like these basic funding cards, you play them out and they give you some purchasing power. So this one here costs bronze. So if I want to activate this card, I'll play it out and actually dedicate the bronze token towards it. At the start of the game, you can only burn 1 metal safely, and as your turns progress, you'll be able to start burning multiple different metals, up to 4 of them. There is a way to burn additional metals, but that is called flaring. And so to flare, you flip the token over, you dedicate it to a card, and you choose to do all of its effects. But at the end of the turn, when all of the cards are discarded, the metals will go back to your board here, and the flared metal token will stay face down. You cannot use this again to burn or to flare, to spend for a card, unless you discard a card that shows one of the 2 metals matching it here on the index on the corner. And when you do so, that is now recharged and ready to use again. When you activate cards, you'll just do whatever the benefits are. Typically, they're going to be currency to buy better cards to add to your deck. Or, in the case here, this is to move up on the mission tracks. This is how you'll be moving up here and getting more bonuses as you cross those thresholds. There are attacks, there's healing, fixing up your health, so on and so forth that you can see from these different card effects here. Now, one of the neat things is that, let's say later on in the game, this is your hand of cards. You'll notice that there are certain sideways cards. These are allies that will be played out, and they'll just stay out in front of you. They can be attacked, reducing the damage done to you, or players can attack you directly, but these have passive effects that will give you more benefits. Also, as you level up here on the training track and you reach this number 1, you unlock your character's unique number 1 ability. So every time I were to burn pewter, I would get this benefit. If I have this character out in front of me, every time I burn brass, I also get this benefit. So when I look at my hand of cards here, I have a lot of options of how I want to burn metals for this, but I'm only able to burn a few metals, and so one of the things I can do, if I want to use this Deceive card for its stronger ability, I have to be burning a brass and a second brass. Now, how can that be done? I only have one brass token. Well, I can dedicate one brass towards this, and then I can use one of these other cards to pay for it by using the vial shown on the side of the card, and I would tuck it under. Even though this is a zinc card, brass and zinc are paired metals. Iron and steel are paired metals, so all of their cards, here in this case pewter and tin, are paired. And so I can spend this card to pay for any pewter or any tin metal card by tucking it under sideways like this. Also, you'll notice this particular card here shows next to the vial 2 extra coins, so anytime that you do this, you get this little savant bonus, it's called. So not only am I activating this card here for 2 money and trashing cards from my hand or my discard pile, I'm also moving up 2 mission tracks because I have a second brass dedicated towards it. I'm getting 2 currency by using this card as the metal vial. Because I have this soother over here, if I am burning brass, I get 2 more steps up in mission tracks, and if I'm burning a second brass, I also get to trash 2 more cards. So I get to do a lot of things here. I get to claim these benefits from the mission tracks, so on and so forth. There are certain cards, these ones here, that are adium type. These cost adium to burn, to activate, and you'll get that by crossing certain thresholds here of your track, or by using other cards as adium to tuck underneath it, and they have huge effects. These also can be used as wild. So these tokens or these cards can be tucked under anything else and count as a wild metal, and that includes how you can pay for this confrontation card, that auto win card that I mentioned at the start of the game, if you're able to pay 4 adium to activate it. Now, after you do all of the effects on your turn, you will sum up all of the attacking damage that you'll do. So if I played out some of these cards here, I might be doing 3 attack damage. I can either take out those sideways ally cards that are in front of people, or I can attack the player's healths directly. Attacking in this game is done, if you're playing with 3 or 4 players, via the target. Whichever player has the target token is going to be the only person that can be attacked directly for damage. I would do all of that damage towards this character, and then this player has a choice. Do they hold on to the target, or do they pass it on to any other player, so that player must be the target of the next attack? The benefit for holding on to it is if that player takes their turn, any damage that they assign gets assigned to all other players. So that might be a way to try to win the game. Remember, if you win, you can win if you are the last player standing, if you complete all 3 missions, or complete the confrontation card. There's other rules to the game, but that is a good enough idea of how to get started. That's Mistborn, the deck building game.
So this game is a deck building game. Obviously, that's what it says on there. You build your own deck, and you're going to play competitive and cooperatively. The game teaches you, the rules overview is competitive. I assume that's the
seems kind of the standard
mode.
Way. Yeah.
And to be fair, I've not played the cooperative one because I didn't have any interest in that. I was really interested in playing against other people.
Yeah, I read through the solo and the co-op stuff, and I just kind of, out of curiosity, looked online a little bit. And my biggest concern with the co-op mode at 4 players is it doesn't seem to scale at the different player counts. That seems to be the discussion as well, because you only have 36 turns. I have not played it. I am more interested in fighting other people also. And I like co-op games more, but just in this particular setting, I kind of wanted to fight others.
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing here. You've not read these books, right?
I've read the first one, and I'm partway through the second.
Well, then you've read everything that's in this game, basically.
Yes.
It has some odd theming to the degree. Each person is playing one of the main characters of the story. But every card is kind of more generic. Even if it is a character from the story, it tells you like what they are. Like
they're a soother rather than naming the character from the book. Yeah.
Yeah, and I found that to be a little odd. It means the theme is a little bit less there. And honestly, once you start playing, there's no theme, in a sense. Yes, there are the 8 different elements, and they're paired together, and there's a little bit of that, and you can burn them and
flare them,
and the terminology is there. So I think that's both bad and good. Bad in that if you really, really were looking for theme, it's not there as much as you would want it to be. But good if you don't care one whit about Mistborn, this shouldn't detract you.
I don't think it would. I think it's more meaningful and it feels less overwhelming because there's 8 different metal types, 9 with the adium, the rare one, right?
9.
And so you have 8 in front of you, and you think, good heavens, this is going to be a lot of onboarding. And I think they did a good job with like the paired elements because both thematically from the books they are paired already. To a push, there's a pull, kind of a counterweight thing, right? And so...
And each pair does something different.
But even within that, you can use one card as either one type of a thing. I think they did a few things to kind of simplify. It's more like 4 different types with a little variation in between.
Yes, and that's fine. The game comes close to overstepping the number of different things that it does, I think. I like the 3 different paths of victory, killing everybody, and by the way, the target token system for attacking people in a multiplayer game works beautifully.
I agree.
It's like King of Tokyo. I can hold on to as long as I want. Everyone hits me, but then when I hit you, I can get you all. I like that. And then I'm moving up tracks, and then the weird third way, which I'm sure someone's pulled off, and that's almost like a John D. Clair staple at this point.
I've played games that have like a you win card and even other deck building games and stuff, and it's the other 2 paths I think are going to be more common, right?
No question. You
Right.
really have to work to get that card. You have to get the card first of all.
Yeah. I think of the other games I've seen that have a you win condition, though, that one feels very earned. I haven't seen it, but I have to imagine if someone has saved up all that adium or has extra of those wild cards to play it, like,
right.
Hats off, you earned that.
Sure. But what I'm saying is you have all that, but then there's a bunch of these. There is 8 elements, and you're flipping them and moving up this track and doing that. So it's not a complex deck building game, but there's a decent amount going on. There's a lot of things I like about this that do things simply. Like I mentioned, a combat token, but I also like you have leftover money to spend. You can take 2 of it and turn it into a coin. That's it. Mm-hmm. It's simple. It's easy. It lets you save up, but also doesn't let people abuse the system.
I agree. You have 1 left over. You'll be fine. We're just kind of letting that one go. I agree about. It almost feels like it's too much. At some point in the game, you're going to look at your hand of cards because it'll all be upgraded. No more starting cards and stuff, and you're going to say, whew, how do I pay for all of this? Well, if I do this one with this, right, it might lead to some players kind of locking up. I think for the most part it does not, and I appreciate that.
Sure.
Right? But if depending on your play group, I could see someone struggling a little bit because it's not just, I play out my 5 cards, I do a thing. No, it's a miniature hand management game every turn, which I like a lot, and I think that I can sit there and make decisions fairly quickly. I also think some of the best parts of managing that hand are the reaction cards. I don't know if you've gotten to use too many of those, but like when someone is about to move up the tracks on the missions, you're like, ooh, do I spend this now to slow them down?
That might be my least favorite part of the game.
I thought I would dislike it. I don't dislike it.
Well, in a 2-player game, I don't mind. In a multiplayer game, it's more of a, it just feels a little take that, involved. The game is, deck building kind of is like a branching tree. Dominion was the first one, and then Ascension came after that, and so you can see the roots. This one clearly goes back to the Star Realms category, where you're trying to get points, move up the tracks, or attack other people. There's not a lot of brand new mechanisms here. There's a few minor things and switches and all, and maybe using the adium is the main new thing, right? Spending that, burning it. Mm-hmm. Although that becomes less of an issue as the game goes by, unless you really. I saw someone playing it last week, and I was like, "How do you have all this burn? These flared adium in them?" And they're like, "Because I'm just have every kind of card in my deck." So you can do that, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't have to be new necessarily. I would be concerned that my initial thought were, well, people who read Mistborn are going to be overwhelmed, and then I thought they're reading Mistborn, which already is a fairly overwhelming. There's systems of magic and what's going on.
Sure, yeah.
So if I feel you can read Mistborn and enjoy it, you'll understand the mechanisms of the game.
I do wish the rulebook explained things in a slightly different order. I found the onboarding process from learning the rules a little bit confusing because they explain a lot of concepts up front. And I'm like, what does a turn look like? And once you get it, you realize...
This is a modern thing that board games do. I don't get it.
Yeah. But I think that, if you can read through those books and be super geniuses like us, then you can parse this rule book. I understood what you're saying.
I like it. I like the concept of this game. I like the theme a lot, and I think it plays very well. We played it live during our Winter Spectacular of 2024, and that was like a picture-perfect game, coming down to a very climatic, exciting ending.
2 different paths to victory on display, fighting it out,
But I've seen both. I walked by one where almost everybody was dead, and one person killed them all, and I like that. I think if you like the Mistborn series, you'll be happy. I said the theme wasn't super strong, but the art is, and the naming is, the nomenclature is really good. And so all that's there, so you can get that and enjoy that. And if you don't, it's still a really good, solid deck building game that does a few things differently and offers a lot of variety. I think that's the biggest thing. Most games you're like, do this, do this. This one has several. Do you want to heal and attack? Do you just want to heal and move up tracks? Do you want to move up tracks? Do you want to do a little bit of everything? Or do you want to go for that crazy card? I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. I find it to be very enjoyable.
I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. I really enjoy it, and I appreciate you made a comparison to Star Realms. I think that this game is less blunt than Star Realms. In Star Realms, you want one color of card in your deck if possible, maybe 2. And while you do want to create a synergistic deck, as the game progresses, being able to burn more different types of metals per turn does allow you to have kind of a more varied deck. You might want to go into a big healing strategy. You might want to try these different things, culling cards out of your deck, trashing things. You are a little beholden to the market, and that's going to happen with these deck building games where stuff comes out and you say, I guess I'm doing this. But this is one of the ones that I find that you can have left that flexibility a little bit more. You're not punished for it by throwing in a few more elements into your deck than you wanted, because you have that hand management sequence every turn of yours. I find that to be really fun. It's thematic enough, but I think it's also approachable enough, so it kind of nails that, like you're saying. So I have a lot of fun with this one. So an 8 out of 10 for me.
There you go. That's Mistborn, a deck building game. I'm Tom Vassell.
And I'm Chris Yee.
Journey Before Destination. I'm kidding. That's the wrong series. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you, and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.